Hi, boys and girls. I hope you're having a great day. This book is Hawaii for Wadney Wat. You may have read it before, but obviously, Wadney here is a rat and he speaks a little differently. So we know that we're going to talk about seek to seek first to understand, then to be understood, and we're going to talk about empathy. Understanding other people really makes you feel like walking in their shoes, like what it's like to be them. So that's what we're talking about today. So I'm going to read this story, and then afterwards, you're going to be answering some questions about the book and giving your input and thinking about a time when you maybe could have seeked to understood or did seek to understand first, and it helped you. Poor Wadney Wat. His real name was what was Rodney Rat, but he couldn't pronounce his R's. To make matters worse, he was a rodent, a wodent. What's your name, Rodney? Asked the other rodents. Wadney Wat, whispered Wadney. What's another name for Bunny? They asked knowingly. Wabbit, he mumbled. And how does a train travel? They winked at each other. A train travels on twain tracks, Wadney Wat replied miserably. All of this teasing day in and day out made Wadney the shyest rodent in his elementary school. His squeak could barely be heard in class. He gnawed lunch alone, and while the other rodents scurried and scooted about at recess, Wadney hid inside his jacket. Then one day the rodents were taking turns doing wheelies and a new rodent, a very large rodent, barged into the classroom and announced, "My name is Camilla Capybara. I am bigger than any of you, I am meaner than any of you, and I am smarter than any of you." Then she added, "So there." Let me show you the pictures good. I don't know if I'm doing a good job of that. With that, she accidentally, on purpose, elbowed and ear bumped two noses, stepped on three tails, and lay down on a desk. Fur prickled in fear through the classroom. She sure was bigger than any of them. She sure looked meaner than any of them. Was she smarter than any of them? "What's 2 plus 2?" asked Mrs. Fuzzleworth. "Four," shouted Camilla Capybara without even bothering to raise her paw. "And furthermore, 4 plus 4 is 8, 8 plus 8 is 16, and 243 plus 125 is 368." Later, when Miss Fizzleworth asked, "What's the capital of—" Camilla interrupted. "New York, Albany, population 295,594. And during science, in answer to the question, what part of a plant is below ground, Camilla Capybara danced on her desk and sang, "Root, root, rooty toot, toot." Yep, though all of the other rodents, she's smarter than we are too. They felt very, very uncomfortable. She's not even seeking to understand the question before she answers it. Every afternoon just before the final recess, Mrs. Fuzzleworth drew a name from her hat to see who would be the leader for their favorite game. Simon Says. She scrunched her eyes closed and jiggled the hat. Would it be Harry Hamster? Minnie Feet Mouse? Grizzle Frizz Guinea Pig? Could it be big, mean, smart Camilla Capybara? When Mrs. Frizzleworth's paw reached in and pulled out the name of Wadney Wet, The bell rang. There was a wild scurry for the door, and Camilla Capybara was the first on the playground, having trampled the others in her path. To Wadney she looked especially scary. What would she do when she heard him speak? Breathe, Capybara, breathe in his face, or tie him up in his own tail, or even pounce on him. The tiny, trembling leader of the game stood before the eager players, his head well inside his jacket, and squeaked, "Wadney says weed the sign," while the other rodents read, "P.S. 142 Elementary School for Rodents." Camilla began pulling up weeds around the sign and wildly flinging them higher and higher, flinging them hither and yon until she was clear up to her teeth in dirt. The other rodents began to smile. I don't think she was listening. She was listening, she just wasn't listening to understand. She didn't understand what he wanted. Wadney says, "Wrap your paws around your head." He peeked a little peek out of his jacket and saw, whap, 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 whappity slappity whap. Camilla was whapping her paws around her head so hard she became dizzy, gave herself a headache, and had to sit down. The other rodents couldn't help giggling. Goodness. Wadney says, "Play, wing around the wosey." Camilla put out her arms like wings and made an airplane noise. Mmm. But where was the wosey? What was the wosey? By now, Wadney's voice was stronger and his head was entirely out of his jacket. "Wake the leaves." Nobody moved. Wadney says, "Wake the leaves." While Harry, Minifeet, and Grizzlefrizz and the others busied themselves raking, Camilla Capybara grabbed one leaf. "Wake up!" she yelled, telling them to wake up instead of raking them. She snatched another, "Come on, you, up, up, up," and another, "Rise and shine," and another, "Boo." By now all the other rodents were squealing with laughter, but Camilla, who frowned. Stupid leaves, they won't wake up. And why was everyone laughing at her? Such bullies! In a voice so strong he had to hold his own ears, Wadney called, "Wadney says go west." The students collapsed in a happy heap for a rest. Go west. Camilla Capybara, feeling very smart that she could tell directions by the sun, said, "All right, I shall go west." And then she added, "So there." West she stopped. Forever she was gone. And from that day on, the pupils of PS 142 Elementary School for Rodents never teased Wadney again. He was their hero. "Hooray for Wadney Wet!" they cried. "Woot woot wootity toot toot." Okay, so we're going to make sure that you are thinking about how she did not seek to understand Wadney.